Welcome to the Generative Age,
a podcast that explores the rapidly evolving world of generative AI and its impact on education.
Guided by EdTech Director, author, and Nicegate board member Nneka McGee. We are joined by experts and practitioners in the field who are shaping the discourse of artificial intelligence in the classroom.
Whether you're an educator, administrator, technology leader, or simply interested in the future of education, join us on this journey through the Generative Age, powered by Nicegate. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Generative Age. Some really exciting news to share around ISTE, so if you'll be there, please definitely connect with me. The Students for Innovation who were on the most recent episode, they were actually accepted to present a model lesson on the writing process. You definitely want to check that out. Marina and I have 2 sessions together, one virtual, one in person. I have a session with another podcast friend, Holly Clark, and one with Nikki Slaw, who has not been on yet, but she's really awesome. So if you're at Nicegate, please connect with me. And one other really surreal thing is that it's just announced this week that I am a featured voice. So it feels really surreal, and I'm so fortunate for all of you that have valued my work. So thank you all. None of this would be possible without all of you. If you haven't already joined my mailing list, please join my mailing list, because I'm very likely going to be hosting an event at ISTE. So if you're going to be there, join my mailing list so you can find out about the event and you can connect with me there. I'm so excited to invite you to something that's so close to my heart, the first ever Students for Innovation Virtual Summit, which is launching next week. Last episode, we were joined by my co-founders, Soham and Mia, who told us all about how the organization got started. And if you were inspired by them and the idea of students leading the way, you don't want to miss this. So head on over to studentsforinnovation.org and register now. Today, I am posting a session that I did on National AI Literacy Day, and I got a lot of really great feedback from this session. So I really want to repost it for you here as well in case you missed it. There's 2 really close friends of Nicegate on the call with me. One is Nneka McGee, who was most recently Nicegate's keynote at the last annual conference, and the other one was Marina Pisto-Lombardo, who was Nicegate's Educator of the Year. So we have 2 friends of Nicegate that we want to welcome back, as well as a new friend, Vicky Sedgwick. So without further ado, we're just going to jump right into the episode, and everyone will introduce themselves, and I think you'll really enjoy this. We noticed that there's usually a gap in the elementary space, and people usually introduce AI in the high school and sometimes in middle school, but I find great value in using it in an elementary setting, and I think by the end of this you'll see why. And we were going to put together a slideshow presentation for you, and we thought, why were we going to hop on a call and get to know each other and what they do, because I've never met Vicky before. And we thought we'd bring it to you in a more authentic way so you could experience the conversation live while it's happening and engage with us. So we're just going to do some introductions. So that's the story of how this happened. And we'll do some introductions and then we will hop right into it. So my name is Alana Winnick. I'm the Educational Technology Director and Data Protection Officer here at Botanica, where I am right now with Marina, who she'll introduce herself in a minute. I also sit on the board of directors for Nicegate, and we had a very wonderful keynote speaker this year who is on this call. So we're very fortunate to continue that relationship. And that's where I'm just going to turn it over to Marina.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marina Pisto-Lombardo, and like Alana mentioned, I work with her at Pecanico Hills Central School District. I'm a 3rd grade general education teacher, and I'm certified in a bunch of different areas. I work as a generalist, but I have all these different lenses that I can look through, so that's really great. ISD certified educator, and this past year's been pretty exciting for me as I've won and been recognized by Nicegate as an outstanding teacher of the year, as well as in our local region as a teacher of the year.
I'm Vicky Sedgwick. I'm currently a retired elementary computer science teacher. I taught basically technology and then moved in to actually focusing on computer science for about 16 years. Before that, I was actually in the, I did software design. So I was kind of in the industry before that. But currently I'm still really involved in computer science education for students, K to 12. I am the Computer Science Teachers Association Los Angeles chapter leader. I am an elementary standards writer for the Computer Science Teachers Association, and currently working on the revision of the national CS standards for students. Was a writer on the standards for teachers. I was the K to 2 working group lead for the AI for K-12 initiative. So I've been working with teaching kids about AI since about 2018. Um, I am currently also a working group member of AI for CA, and we do lessons about teaching kids about AI at least a couple times a year. And you can find me at visionsbyvicky.com.
Thank you so much. I'll introduce myself again. Again, Nneka McGee, a former Chief Academic Officer and now founder of Muon Global. And we provide strategic advice for companies and school districts and other organizations regarding AI, quantum, and emerging technologies. As mentioned, I've been very honored to be a keynote speaker in places like NiceGate, which was like an amazing experience. I was named an influencer to follow, which is like really cool because I'm such an introvert, my secret. I have been studying artificial intelligence and education for some time and actually did my doctoral research on the topic. And so the title of my dissertation is available to you who are interested in a little light reading. And my company website, we're redoing everything, getting it ready for the summer, but I'm excited to be here. And I know we have some special guests, Alana, so I'm excited to meet our special guest.
We do have some special guests. I'm very, very excited. Do you want to come over for a moment? And we'll probably engage in some conversation before they join us. But here are our special guests. We thought, how can we have a conversation about elementary AI in elementary schools without the elementary students themselves? Do you want to tell them your names?
My name is Reza.
How old are you, Reza?
I'm 8.
You're 8.
My name's Ocean. I'm 9.
Speak louder.
My name's Ocean. I'm 9.
Great job.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so they're going to join us in just a few minutes, but I thought first we can get to know like what you guys have been doing in your elementary classrooms, and then we'll have our kids tell you for themselves what they're doing.
For you mean in dropping a link or for ourselves? Did you like that?
You.
Because
I want to know
well,
what Vicky and you are, what like you implement this. So tell us. I'm curious.
well,
What
so
you've been
I'm gonna
doing.
shout out Vicky for a minute because I'm gonna tell you she I don't know when we met, but I do remember a space and time we met. And Vicky introduced me to like a wonderful book. Do you remember the book?
I can't remember which one I introduced you to because
What's
there's
the book?
Oh, now I have to grab a copy of it. It's the one about the differences from Italy.
oh yes, Many Intelligences is the
Many many intelligences. And I was so amazed because I love books, and we were actually in a session where I was presenting on AI for littles. And so just to make people aware, since oh man, well, as far as I can remember, but in particular since 2023, I have been focused on making sure that we find ways to introduce artificial intelligence to young students. It was a catalyst for me and an inspiration, particularly because when large language models started coming out, being all in on artificial intelligence, as I was in my district, I had to ban it. And it had nothing to do with plagiarism. And at the time, where people were talking about, oh, it's the end of education, it had everything to do with terms of service. When ChatGPT first came out, the terms of service were for 18 years or up. And that meant, anyone in my district, they couldn't use, a minimal amount of students. And so in having that conversation, even when they reduced the age for the reasons that we'll get into, I made sure what are these ways to help our students. I did rely on tools from places like ISTE, and I know one of the people who helped developed their tools are on the call today that, in terms of hands-on activities. And then I started doing these sessions. And then one of these sessions, Vicky came along and she talked about, the mini intelligence book. And I was like, I have to have it. Little did I know that I would be placing an order to an Italian publisher and waiting a very long time to get these books. And so I ordered multiple books because I love giving them away. And what it showed is not only the importance, not only that multiple people are in the space sharing resources, which is so critical, but that they were deep and rich resources that help elevate all of us. Because if Vicky and if we had not had that conversation and had you not been so willing to share, how many people would have lost out on that experience? Not because, everyone is like, yeah, I'm the best, or, oh, I'm presenting this, but just because it's such a novel area. So those are some of the things that I've been doing, like the AI for Little sessions last year, for in person. I reached, our in person was over 1,500 teachers. And this year already, maybe about 300. So that's been amazing, and sharing with teachers, but also sharing with other educators and teachers such as Vicky. Vicky, what has been your experience in the space? Because you've been doing a lot of things.
Yeah, I am primarily these days focused on the littles as well, though I do a lot of things. Like I recently did a webinar for Common Sense Media that was for K-8, but I primarily focus on starting with how AI works with kids, because to me, knowledge is power. And the more you know about how something works under the hood, how it makes these decisions and things, the better decisions you can make about when it's appropriate to use it and when it might not be appropriate to use it, right? It's very cool, and so it tends to be like, oh, let's use it all the time, but it's not always appropriate, right? It's not always appropriate for our learning. It can enhance our learning, or it can take over our learning where we don't learn anything. We just you know take that out and give it to AI, basically. And we don't want to do that in the elementary space. We want to use things where they're appropriate, not where they're not. And so a lot of what I have been focusing on is lessons that can be taught about how it works, where it is in our lives, because it's very hard to recognize sometimes, especially for the littles, because it's hidden inside machines. There's not a big notice on the outside that says, hey, I have AI, right? So it's nice to know where it is and how it's impacting our lives. So I do a lot of sessions for teachers about how AI works and give them lessons they can use with their students to explore how it works, to play with things a little, and to understand how it works so they can make informed decisions about when it's appropriate to use and when it's not appropriate to use.
Vicky, you said something that I think Ocean can do a really great job speaking about. So, Ocean, why don't you tell them about your old school, which is very different than your new school, and what you think about AI and how it could be used sometimes and shouldn't be used sometimes.
So, um, in my old school, there wasn't really any AI. So so when
What types of things did you do at your old school, though?
we didn't really learn that much math and that kind of thing. We learned more about nature and that kind of thing. So we but when I came here, there was a lot of like AI and it was new. So for some people, AI is like it's really cool for me. Like it's really cool, but you have to know why you should know about like AI is because if you don't know about AI, you should know that you can use it for some things, but you shouldn't use it every day.
Why?
Like every second of every day because um my mom used the word addiction sometimes. It's like if you are like you shouldn't be on it that much because because then you'll forget you want to use AI in a way that you won't forget the real world.
I love that. That's an amazing view to have about it at such a young age. So I love to hear that.
Vicky, before you retired, so you started implementing it way earlier than most people. So how did you even like know about it, and what tools, I guess, were you using at that time?
Like I said, I like to focus more on because I was a CS teacher, I focus on it a lot through the CS lens because AI is part of CS.
Yeah.
And so I focus on how it works. And so a lot of tools that I use were things, for example, even within Scratch, for example, I wonder if the students here have ever used Scratch, the programming language. Well, within Scratch, they have an extension for translation. That's AI. And so AI is not just generative AI. And I think it's important that we tell people that AI has been around since the 1950s, actually. It's been impacting all of our lives since at least the early 2000s. And anytime we see a recommendation on, YouTube or Netflix for the next movie, that's AI, right? So it's been talking about it in that space. And I was lucky since I was involved in the AI for K-12 project. I learned a lot from experts, from people who were already in the field that were actually studying AI, that are, researchers in AI, about how AI works and what it does well and what it doesn't do well, right? Because it's easy to like be distracted and think, oh, it's like Wild Robot, right? We've all seen the new Wild Robot movie, and that's awesome. But AI is not like the Wild Robot, right? It's still a machine. It still doesn't have emotions. It's still, all of those things. And I think it's important, especially with the littles, to tell them it's not magic, right? It's not anything that's magic. It's people and it's algorithms, and it's actually math that is making all of it work. You don't teach the littles about what the math is, but it's math, and people are behind all of it. And I think that's an important thing for all of us to remember, because even to adults, this can seem pretty magical these days, right? And so I was really lucky to learn from a lot of experts in AI about how it works and how AI is trained, and to really start to think deeply about what is that actually doing, um, and is it beneficial, not just to me, but to society as a whole.
I'm just curious, what age did you start introducing this?
I actually started with really little kids. I would start the discussions in the K-2 space for sure, because we teach K-2, we lay foundations for everything starting in K-2, right? We don't say, oh, they can't do algebra, so we're not going to teach them any math, right? Or, oh, they can't read a novel, so I'm not going to worry about teaching them how to read, right? We start teaching basics of things and underlying fundamentals very young. And I think you can start that same thing with how AI works, right? It's all based on patterns and things like that. So we talk about patterns all the time in the K-2 space. Why not bring in some discussions about, oh, machines use patterns too, and that's how they can seem to be intelligent. That's how they can help us with AI. So you're not teaching, in really in-depth stuff. You're not having them create AI. But even in upper elementary, kids can start training AI models using things like Teachable Machine or machine learning for kids. And they can write programs that use these models and see, oh, did I train my model well? Right? And start to investigate questions of bias that could be in AI, because they may be creating their own bias data sets, right? You can do a lot of unplugged things with little kids that start teaching them even how something like ChatGPT works. How does a large language model work? And I have actually a website that I have I'm collecting lessons on. These are lessons that I've created, and there's also links to other curriculum that's out there that you can use to start teaching kids about how AI works. And like I said, that's where I like to focus it, because I think the more you learn about how it works, the better informed decisions you can make. And and it's pretty basic at a little kid level. Like one of the lessons I love to do is on large language models. And we use actually sentences from the book Green Eggs and Ham and train an unplugged, it's in 5 containers, and using sentences from Green Eggs and Ham, we train an unplugged model, a paper model, and then we generate sentences from it that sound like they came from Green Eggs and Ham, but didn't necessarily come from Green Eggs and Ham.
Well, first of all, thank you, Vicky. I just feel like I learned a lot just hearing what you had to share. And what do you guys think about that green eggs and ham idea? That sounds like fun.
Should we do that?
No. So when Alana and I started to talk about introducing artificial intelligence into the classroom, I was very hesitant. I wasn't sure how I even felt about it as a person. And when I say that, I'm talking about the whole chat GPT coming out and all the conversations that were swirling around it. I will be honest and say there were, as somebody who like really enjoys and loves technology, like I love that there's just always something a little bit more to learn every single day. So as it changes, it's an evolving process for a learner too. And that's a wonderful thing. And I knew that there were like little elements of the world that were running on systems, but I still had moments where I was like, that's kind of creepy. How did they know that I might want to watch this next? So I did some work myself as an educator. I played around with it. I figured out what I would want to do with it personally, what I wouldn't want to do with it personally. And then I thought about what this could look like for younger students. I've been teaching 3rd grade for about 5 years, teacher for 17 or 18, I don't even remember, but about 5 years in our district. And before that was in middle school. So not even thinking about AI for a second, there were a lot of elements of the work that I was doing around technology and digital fluency and multimedia composition that I was doing in 5th grade. And when I had the opportunity to move to a younger grade, I was really excited because I was like, I bet I could do all of that work with my younger students in an age appropriate way to begin to lay the foundations of where they're going to be heading and to nurture their interests, their talents, their assets, their goals, to find alternative ways that may help them to speak more to what they need to learn, to demonstrate their thinking in ways that are mirroring their real world experiences. So with everything, Alana and I started talking, how could we begin to do this type of work? And as a general education teacher, I'm responsible for their reading instruction, their math instruction, their writing instruction, their content. And I thought to myself, well, we could probably get a lot of good also information about their writing from this. So we kind of embarked on a project where we used computer science debugging.
Yeah, we used all the computer science work.
Yeah, we wanted to debug creativity. And it was really like a full package deal because everything that we did with our 3rd graders last year to kind of begin to build their AI literacy also included building their understanding of systems around them, like the cloud. You mentioned the wild robot, Vicky. Alana and I had conversations with the kids, and we want to be really clear that, it's not a robot. We may see that type of image in a lot of different spaces, and because it's making it visual, but that's not really what's happening here.
Like, what does AI look like, right? And then we were describing it as like the cloud. Like, what does the cloud look like? And we can't see these things, and it's a very difficult concept for some of these guys are wonderful and they get it, but little ones don't understand this concept of the cloud or AI, and there's no visual that goes with it.
Well, and there's a lot of different other elements to consider when you're in a classroom too. Like, your learners, that there's words have multiple meanings,
Yeah.
right? And they're learning to develop that. There's figurative language that they're working on around this grade level. And if we're talking about the cloud, we're not talking about the clouds in the sky that are bringing down rain.
Yeah.
So not only is it developing their understanding of systems and hardware, it's also helping to develop like their literacy skills just in general.
And we also found, and they're going to chime in soon, we found that as we were working on prompting, it was significantly improving their writing, because they know if you guys want to get the best image, what do you have to do with your words, with your prompts?
You have to say like, tell, explain to me like I'm 5 years old, or like give me 5 ideas.
He's telling you about the prompts we use to help explain things. That is great. That's great. I loved that. Reza, can you tell us if you're making an image with like whatever image generator you're using, and you're not getting an image you're thinking about in your head, what might you have to do with your writing?
You might have to be a little bit more specific about it.
Yeah, you might have to be more specific and use more details, right?
Yeah.
So then we found that it was really helping their writing with adding a lot more details and being more descriptive, and they were using less run-on sentences, and we found their writing significantly improved, right, Miss Lombardo?
Yeah, and one thing that really stood out to me is that I found, and I still find with my current students, that there's more of an excitement to revise, which usually sometimes people don't want to revise. They're like, nope, I'm done. I'm done and I finished. And what I thought is really fascinating about people that may need to see something visual immediately is that we were generating art images of their writing. So it led to some really good conversations around prepositions. It led to some really good conversations around adjectives. It led to some really good conversations around grammar. And instead of giving a baseline on paper, I was able to get a little insight into their thinking of writing structure, but also their digital fluency skills. Like, how well are they navigating a keyboard? Are they using accessible technology like speech to text and things of that sort? They were so responsive to suggestions for editing and revising their thinking that there was an improvement in their work. And it also gave me a lot of information as a general education teacher to support their overall writing development as well.
So
I'm
guys,
very curious to hear from the kids.
that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah, why do you think it's important to learn about artificial intelligence? That's the first question.
Yeah.
The second question is, what would you like to learn more about artificial intelligence? Maybe something you feel like, oh, I don't know this now, but I'm excited to learn it in the future.
And then after that, I want them to tell us how they're using it, because we haven't heard from them about that. But why do you think it's important? That's a great question. Why do you think it's important that every kid learns about AI?
I think it's important to know about AI because like it can help you improve your writing, and like it can help you do that kind of thing.
Why do you think so, Reza?
It's like what Ocean said, but
Because some kids don't learn about AI, right?
yeah.
So what do you think the difference is between you learning it and a student that's never learned it?
If you don't learn about like AI, you won't really. It's a helpful way to learn, but if you don't have it, there could be other ways.
So do you think it makes you learn better?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it tells us like what words mean, how to do the work, and like.
So do you want to tell us
I was gonna say, could we talk about some of the different ways that
'Cause I
they've
think-
interacted? I think that
I think that will
I have
really-
a lot to say.
Yeah.
So Reza, you just what I heard you say is it helps me with the meanings of words, right?
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking
I
about.
know which
So-
which thing are you talking about? The translingo?
Yeah.
Is
The
that what-
translingo
Yeah.
art partner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can the both of you share a little bit about what is the translingo art partner? It's been our most successful chat.
They talk to me about this all the time.
It tells you what words mean, and also tells you what how to say it in different languages, and And it also gives you examples how to draw it.
So just for everyone that's listening is like, what is a Translingo art partner? I have no idea what he's talking about. It's actually a custom GPT that Miss Lombardo created for them in School AI. So she created a custom space for them, and they use this all the time to help you with words.
It's mostly in foundation, but
We-
yeah.
Yeah, we use it pretty regularly too. And a lot of times we do use it in foundations, which for anyone who's participating is like our multisensory phonics program. And the great thing about that particular program is that they're helping the children to acquire the typical phonics patterns, right? Which, by the way, that's a code, just so you guys know, our English language. And it doesn't dig as deep into the vocabulary. So I really wanted to like leverage the work that the children were getting with, like, yes, they could read the words, yes, they could spell the words, but they didn't always know what the words meant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there were so many times where I was like, okay, well, we do a lot of Freyer models, we do a lot of sketching to help us do meaning, but we didn't have sentences to work on the reading comprehension part. And so I designed this experience for them to get more to further enhance their experience, where they would be able to get into the chatbot and they would be able to ask about some of the words. And like Reza said, it is designed to support and build our global awareness of languages. So it was designed to always tell the same word in Spanish as well as another language of our choice. And you both have picked different. Go ahead, you talk. Go ahead.
You can also put the AI in different languages and like switch because like if you go to the corner there's like a thing, and if you click on it you can change the AI to like the words being in Spanish. Say you wanted it to be in Spanish, you could change it to Spanish, and then say you want to know how to hear it in English, you could ask the AI
And what's really beautiful about our district is we are so beautifully diverse, and we have students from all over the world, right? And some of our students are just learning to speak English, and they're able to use the AI, right? To understand things in their native language that they speak at home, right?
Mhm.
So that we love using it for that type of stuff. But then they also get to, you guys are learning languages in school, right?
Mhm.
What languages are you learning?
I'm learning Spanish.
And what are you learning?
Spanish.
Spanish. So if you want to practice your Spanish, you could do that too, right?
Yeah.
What other ways are you using AI? Because I know we just talked about the Translingo one, but I know that you use AI all the time. So do you want to tell us some other examples?
We use it for I don't know.
Podcasting.
Oh yeah, we made podcasts, on WeVideo, and like you can use AI in all different types of ways. Like you can use it we use like Canva
Oh, the image generation.
for some like stuff. We made posters, and it's like you can use it in all different ways. You can use it for like to figure out something. You can use it for like to make something. You can use it for drawing. You can use it for like how to draw. You can use it for
Something that you said before that I want to bring back up, the prompts that you said. You said, explain it to me like I'm 5, use bullets, and what was the third one you said?
Give me 5 ideas.
Give me 5 ideas.
Because one of the questions that we learned was like, is AI cheating?
Oh yeah.
And so I think AI is not cheating if you use it correctly, because if you use it like just you copy what it said and paste it and say, I'm done, that's cheating. But if you use it like you do, that's why we do explain it to me like in 5 and like do 5 ideas, because then you like choose 2 ideas of the 5 and then you mix them together.
Yeah, so we're a DJ and we remix. Reza, can you tell us, he said it's not cheating if you, I mean, it is cheating if you copy it. Do you think AI is cheating?
Only if you copy it, and if you use it like to help, it's for you to help, supposed to help you.
Yeah.
But if you copy and paste it and put it on your own writing, it's not your thinking.
It's not your thinking. So how could you use it to keep your thinking?
Like ask it questions.
And not
And-
copying and pasting.
Yeah. But in some scenarios you can copy and paste. Like if we are making a Neverland, so like if you use it and you ask it like what are these materials that I would need? I made like a little book creator that said the things that it said. So that's not cheating because you're not using it for like a test or something. You're not
Well,
like using it for like your own for a writing.
but I think it's okay if you're gonna copy and paste it as long as you tell people you did that.
Yeah,
right?
you have to also like some people when I was making a poster with a bunch of people, I copied and pasted, but then you can also remix it once you copy and paste it. But if you don't remix it, you have to like at the bottom or the top say I got this information from Microsoft.
Yeah, that's okay. So you, Vicky, talked about something that I want that they know about this. Is everything AI gives you true?
No.
No? Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm definitely sure.
Remember when we had the Peter Pan picture that I put up on purpose?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
From Magic Media, I think.
Yeah, so I'll do the setup and then you guys, and you totally can interrupt me. So in our third grade class right now, we're reading Peter Pan, the classic novel by J.M. Barrie. And I've been making a lot of escape rooms for the kids. And I do a lot of modeling for the kids in the room, right in front of them. They come to the board. So they're picking up a lot of how I'm prompting and how I'm responding and doing follow-up questions and redirecting. But of course, like most teachers, I'm using it to help me also generate and spark my own ideas. So as we've been reading the book, we've had a bunch of escape rooms that I've created. Yes?
Yeah.
Yes. And I've also done some art generation myself. And I wanted to get an image of Peter Pan and the London background.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and they're in the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful art was a plane. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And
that's because back when that was made, when Peter Pan was made, and when the movie and the book took place, there were no planes.
So I said to myself, this is actually a really good opportunity for me to have an authentic conversation that's not scripted or anything like that with the kids around, well, are you looking at this? Are you really critically looking at what is being created here? What's inaccurate? And then maybe could we think about what might have happened based on those patterns? So I know right away, the whole class pretty much was like, wait, there's a plane. And we read this whole element on the historical context of what time was like during the time that J.M. Barrie wrote Peter Pan. And we knew for a fact there were no planes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there shouldn't have been a plane there.
Like in the AI also, one time I asked a translingual art partner how to spell a word, and it spelled it wrong. So I told the AI that it got the word wrong.
That's what they do, right? You tell the AI when you get it wrong.
Yeah.
And what
Actually, one of their peers, can I just like interject something? One of their peers actually was doing some research when we were doing our frog project, and they actually, it was kind of exciting for me as an educator to see like what they had on the background, and they actually called out the artificial intelligence they were working with and said, that's not what I learned from this website. So it's good because not only are you all engaging with some artificial intelligence to help you with your research and your writing, but then we're also doing the other skills that are necessary, the researching and using other sources credibly and checking one another. So that's another big thing that, that's not just an artificial intelligence thing, that's a life thing.
We had lunch together a couple of days this week. They were telling me many examples of the AI being incorrect during their favorite frog unit.
No.
Right? And you guys would tell the AI that you found that it was incorrect because you found information from reliable sources that told you that?
Like Wikipedia. Yeah.
Oh, is Wikipedia reliable?
No, because like anyone can change Wikipedia. Yeah. Because like
So
if somebody made like a Wikipedia that was new and they just made it like and then they just posted it and they actually were trying to make something that was actually a good information, it would have good information. But if it was like a Wikipedia that had been out for like a month, it's probably not going to be as reliable because anyone can change it in that month.
and we teach them how the AI is trained, and they know they see it's trained on like Wikipedia, Reddit, YouTube. Those are not good source. Can you tell me one good source? Do you know it?
National Geographics.
And what's another good one?
A zoo.
A zoo could be.
Yeah, we
That's
talked about that. If information was coming from a zoo, that we could cross check where it was the website was coming from. We were said, yeah, that's a good one to go with, right?
Yeah. So as you can see, they use it. I mean, for every subject, they use it for math and writing, and we could probably just keep talking. So we want to pass it back to you.
Well, I'm very curious. First of all, this is amazing. And I think, and I'm sure our audience would agree that ultimately, our kids, we want to have an understanding of how they're understanding the world of AI, how it's implemented in classrooms. So it's essential that their voices are heard because many times we don't hear their voices. Many times teachers, and I'm taking this through the lens of a, district former CAO and just experiences, I'm sure many teachers could agree. Normally, we find something at the district level and we're like, hi, here's this new initiative. And then, teachers are like, hey, we have to do this. And then the students, get a different experience as opposed to what I'm hearing that it sounds like is that your students have a lot of agency and that teachers have agency in its implementation.
Oh yeah,
But
I
I'm
think
curious.
as a leader, that's something I'm very cognizant of, is to empower my teachers. And support them when they want to do something like this. And as a leader, giving the teachers that agency, I think is really powerful.
Yeah. One thing I'm curious about from Vicky, from Marina, from you, Alana, is that some of the things I heard, the awesome kids, y'all are amazing, by the way. I heard some of the kind of things we talked about, like looking at different resources and, evaluating if they're correct. I heard about different tools that they're using, things like, School AI. I think I heard Book Creator in there, heard Canva in there.
Canva,
Yeah.
Padlet, we love
Yeah.
Padlet.
Right.
We use a lot of tools here.
Right.
Yeah, Padlet switched because we used a thing, and when you go on Padlet, you can like use the AI of Padlet to make pictures. But you go to the plus, and then there's a thing. It used to be I can't draw, but that was negative, so they switched it to AI image.
They loved when they learned that. They thought that was such a positive twist.
Mhm.
We shouldn't tell
That's
people what they can't do, right?
that's amazing.
Yeah.
How do you prep? Like what do you do to prepare the kids to use AI? And I would love to know from Vicky, from Marina, from Alana, and then the kid, thinking about the safety aspects, right? We're using many of these tools that you're using, and able to get to a point where you are able to evaluate, our kids know to evaluate the information, where kids know, I think is it was it Reza that it talked about having when you copy and paste that you have to make sure that you cite your sources.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that type of knowledge, how do we make sure our kids have those understandings before they use those type of products? And then what considerations do you make, all of you as educators, when it comes to using those type of tools? Because everyone may not know that you can use those type of tools, and in some places those type of tools are still not available to students. So what decisions do we make in order to prepare our kids to use AI? And then what considerations should we take to ensure that the tools that we are using are appropriate for them at the ages that we're speaking about today? I would love to hear your insights. Could we start with Vicky?
Sure. I personally if a student does not have domain knowledge over something, putting them on an AI tool is asking them to accept everything the AI tool gives them, because they don't have the background knowledge in order to verify if it's true. Which is why when I talk to especially primary educators, I say, I personally wouldn't put primary age kids on there. They don't have the background knowledge to be able to do the kind of evaluation that more upper elementary and beyond students have. They have been given enough foundations to be able to start questioning things, right? You have to learn those skills and have some background knowledge before you know enough to be able to question AI, right? If a kindergarten teacher put a student on something and said, ask it questions, they're going to believe it, you know, just like our youngest kids, like if we're talking in a pre-K environment, they may still be mixing up fantasy and reality. And yet we're putting them on this thing that's giving them answers. They're not going to know how to analyze it yet. So I think
unless you teach them, right?
Unless we teach them.
Yeah.
We have to model these things for them and teach them. But the best use of AI is when you already have some knowledge. So like, it sounds like these young men had good background knowledge on frogs before they went in and talked to an AI about frogs, right? Because then they can question what the AI is giving them. If they knew nothing about frogs, it would be difficult for them to know whether what the AI was giving them was true or not, right? So to me, it's like providing that background knowledge, not only in whatever it is they're going to be asking the AI, if that's what they're doing, right? And teaching them those analytical skills, those critical thinking skills before we say, let's hop on this tool and use it. If I don't have that background, I can't use it appropriately because I don't have the background to use it appropriately. So that's kind of my thing, is like, give them that background piece before we say, hop on and use this. Or we're setting them up to not use it appropriately.
Yeah, Vicky, I think you really nailed that one. I think what I always say is AI users have two jobs. Their first job is to be a detective on the lookout for bias and misinformation. Both are equally important. And their second job is to be a DJ and remix the content. And adults too, all AI users have these two jobs. And we assume that everyone knows, and we assume students know how to use technology. But these are things that need to be explicitly taught, right? You guys learn, you ask AI, I pick this one, I combine it with my own human thoughts, right? And we're DJs, like they learn this in school, to be a DJ and to be a detective. And the inside joke here is they studied frogs for 12 weeks, literally. So that's why they keep making these faces. But they became experts on their frogs. So while they were using AI to get information on a frog, you should have seen them. That's not true. I don't even know the frog. That is not poisonous. And they would get very upset with the AI, right? You guys would. Maybe not you, but some of your classmates. What would happen? Tell us when the AI said something that wasn't true.
For me, it said like, this frog doesn't exist.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That happened like 2 times to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, or it gave them a scientific name and not the real name. So they knew enough about it. So I think that's an example. Once you become an expert to use AI to say, I know that's not true. I know that's not true. Another, so they work with teachers all over. It was a middle school teacher was telling me how I'd be so proud of them. They're using AI to help with this research project. And I was like, that's so great. Like, tell me more about it. And there was no more research other than the chatbot that they were using in class. And I think the way I look at it is the AI is a great place to start if you don't know information, but you should always back it up with a reliable resource like National Geographic or a zoo website or Britannica or any library site. So it's like media literacy. We've always taught media literacy. Now it's just an extension of that, but we can't assume that teachers or students know about these things. They need to be explicitly taught as lessons in the classroom. And they know about bias too. We talked about that yesterday, you and I.
Yeah, like bias, it's like um we asked AI to generate pictures, 3 different AIs, and when we asked like a picture of a nurse, most of them were like women, but when we asked for like a doctor, most of them were like men. And my friend, he also works with us.
He'll be on the 12 o'clock.
Yeah, he said he was talking about like more specific, like when it was football players, there was like it came off with 2 different footballs, because there's football, like the football with the like tackling, and American football, and then the football that's like soccer. And so my friend, he said to like be more specific, like ask American football instead of just football.
Or a
Yeah.
male nurse instead of just a nurse, right? So that's how we learn to counteract the bias if we know about it, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I think that goes to, we're thinking about today being National AI Literacy Day and touching on those points of learning and being able to, like I said, evaluate where those sources come, when not to use it. I think it's very important. And it was great hearing it, when to use it and when not to use it, and hearing it from the lens of young students, I think is essential. I do want to address, there were a couple questions, and then I want to get some final thoughts. I can't believe this hour is closing. It was so amazing listening to our young people. And one question talks about, when it comes to standards and procedures and common language district wide, and how the districts handle this. And I'll start by saying that there's a fast way to look at it and a slower process. So you have a fast way is to, look at the terminology you already have, like your acceptable use policies and things of that nature. Make what we would call quick fixes into that, or even if you do need to address. So you do need to have that evaluation of what you have in place in order and how to move forward. So that was one of the first ways that we navigated in our district, is kind of seeing where we are. The other part was to ensure that AI literacy procedures were in place. So in our districts, we did not separate AI literacy from the broader digital literacy. We felt like it was together, and that it need to be addressed in tandem. As a part of that as well, another question did come: who does the responsibility to teach these topics come from? And it does come again before students use AI, and I would love to know, if there's a difference. They do need to understand when it's appropriate, when it's not appropriate, but that comes from the teachers, that comes from the district. And then sometimes when you think about it, it needs to come from the parents. And so there's multiple lenses upon which we have to address that AI, but we definitely don't want to leave parents out of the equation for, helping and empowering them for some of that responsibility. I think
But
that's
I do think
essential.
what you were saying is like, and what I try to empower on my educators is like, as a leader, you need to have a position where you stand. If you don't tell your teachers where you stand with it, they won't know what they're allowed to do. And I'm not even talking about policy. I don't, oh, that was weird. You don't
Oh, yeah.
necessarily need an AI policy. I don't think you need one. So that's a whole different conversation. I have it falling under the responsible use policy, and I've computer assisted computer assisted, I don't remember the last word, sorry, and it falls under academic integrity and handing in work that's reflective of your own thoughts and ideas. But the other piece about that is really that it's going to vary from district to district, building to building, teacher to teacher, and assignment to assignment, and giving the teacher the freedom to have discussions with the students on what's acceptable for this assignment and what may or may not be acceptable for the next assignment. So you have to be explicit with your students, and you have to have these conversations. And I do have conversation starters that are created by students for teachers to have in the classroom. I can try, it's so hard to reach to throw it in the chat. I'm gonna post it on social media. I'm Alana Winnick everywhere. I can try to get it before we close out this call, but it's hard for me to find it and reach. And it's also on my website, on my blog. I posted it on the most recent blog, so that's another place you can find it, on the National AI Literacy Day blog. But I think having the conversation, so if you learn anything from National AI Literacy Day, is to be open-minded, to try it with your students, and to have the conversations.
Definitely. Marina, I would love to know your final thoughts as well.
My final thoughts. Well, I've been doing a lot of learning the past 2 years in this realm, and I would say that I've always been a teacher that learns alongside their students. And with this technology, I think that, there is a little bit of time that maybe all of us need to take to kind of build our understanding and our fluency around what we're doing. So I would say I've seen a lot of my students really excited and interested. And I love the fact that we're introducing them to new skills that are out there for them, but also at the same time, I keep very much at the core of what I do, the children. And I always think, like, Dr. John Spencer wrote a book, Vintage Innovation, and what's timeless? What do we not want to lose, right? Collaboration and communication and creativity. And, I think it would be easy sometimes to say, like, oh, this is going to knock out some of those things. But I think that when we use it correctly, it could really enhance what we're doing also in the classroom, make more entry points for students, make more accessibility, and also the bigger elements. Vicky, you mentioned the fantasy and reality, and I just think a lot about where kids are developmentally too, and that's a really important thing that we always have to remember. The developmental phases of our learners, where they're at and what they can handle. Sometimes they can handle a lot of information. They can understand patterns, right? At the level that works for them. They can understand how systems come together at the level that works for them. So I think that doing all the activities to help build their understanding of what they're really engaging with will help them as they move forward to keep at the center of their attention. How do I use this responsibly? How do I use this ethically? How do I use this to be true to myself as well too? The realities, like, we do know that it's also used in, for efficiency sometimes, right? But without the other pieces, you can't get to the efficiency, because you'll also lose who you are.
Yeah.
That's amazing. We've reached our time. It is
Wait,
9
can I just tell
a.m. Yeah,
how
yeah,
the
yeah.
links are? Sorry. So there's a
No
bunch
worries.
of links I just threw in the chat. One is the Students for Innovation Virtual Summit. It's free. It's all student presenters, no adults, and some of their peers are presenting on what AI in the elementary classroom should look like, completely by students that are 8 and 9 up to 18-year-olds. So it's free. Check that out. It starts in May. I put in a link to my blog with all my AI Day resources, and I put in a link to the conversation starters that I mentioned. And reach out to any of us on any social platform. And Vicky, Nneka, Marina, we're all happy to support all of you. So I know that our time is up, but this is not the end of the conversation. We are happy to continue supporting you.
Yes. Can we give a big shout out to our young people today in a class?
Good job.
You
This
did a
was
great job.
amazing. Thank you so much. I was uplifted. Y'all are amazing. Y'all have really made my week. Thank
Any
you.
last thoughts you guys have?
I just want to say, like, you always have to remember that, like, AI is fun and cool and can be amazing and cool in many different ways, but you should always spend time outside and not just being on AI.
Thank you all so much. This has been amazing. We're going to close out now because I know there's many events going on today and much learning to be had, and we appreciate you all. Take care.
Thank you. And if you were inspired by them and the idea of students leading the way, you don't want to miss this. So head on over to studentsforinnovation.org and register now. And I hope to see you next week. Thanks for tuning into this episode of The Generative Age, powered by Nicescape. For a deeper dive, check out my new book titled, How'd You Guess? The Generative Age, now available on Amazon.
Our journey may pause here, but the conversation doesn't need to end.
Stay connected and informed by following me on social media at Alana Winnick and subscribing to my newsletter, all conveniently accessible on my website, alanawinnick.com.
Don't just listen, be a part of it. With your free Nicescape membership, you can join these live discussions, enroll in our free Generative Age Nicescape community, where you can share resources, ask questions, and collaborate with like-minded colleagues. If you enjoyed this podcast, consider leaving a review and telling a colleague or a friend.
We've got so much more in store, so be sure to join us next time for another exciting conversation. Until then, keep learning and keep growing in the generative age.